So, Tamagotchis. Watching cartoons on a Saturday morning when you've only got 4 channels. Being kicked off the internet when your mum wants to make a phone call. Renting a video from a video shop. Mr Blobby. Anything else I can call from the 90s other than Mr Motivator himself. We are here with Derek Evans, MBE, Mr Motivator. What an absolute pleasure we have of having you on today.
You know, that's brilliant. I've done so many interviews in my time. First time someone went right round the houses who I am. I mean, listen, yes, I am Derek Evans. Yes, I'm Mr. Motivator. Yes, I got an MBE. And yes, I'm in the most wonderful space in the world. And it's that space where, from a very early age, I've got people who got influenced by my laughter, my positivity, my music, my attitude. And I'm responsible for the way every adult who's older than 25 has turned out.
Yeah, massively. Before you came on, we were just talking. I can remember spending many a morning when I was supposed to be at school, I must admit, on when you were on GMTV, bouncing around the room with you and your really colourful leotards. And I wasn't in mine, I must admit, but bouncing around doing all the energetic movements that you were asking us to do, saying, oh yeah, when you were shouting, oh yeah, to me. You are an inspiration to many of people.
Thank you. And that hasn't changed, because I maintain that the problem with a lot of people is that, as soon as they get an element of success, they forget where they come from. And they
Yeah.
also forget that they go to the bathroom the same as you and I, and they get a cold the same as you and I, and you run out of toilet paper the same as you and I. And I actually speak out against people like that because I believe that the vehicle I've traveled in all these years has been important for the foundation stone of who I am. And I don't ever want to get away from that. And also taking people along with me now and sharing the limelight. There's no saying, which is most people know or know the glory, but they don't know my story. That is so important that people understand that the foundation stones that makes me who I am are so critical, whether it was when I was homeless, whether it was when I was a single parent, all those things makes me who I am. And therefore, when I talk to people on podcasts or whatever, I'm talking from the point of view of I've been through the university of life. I've
Yeah.
lived. I've lived.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose I can't start the interview without asking you. So you've been motivating people for decades. What keeps you motivated to carry on doing that?
Well, there's so many things. Listen, there's a joy in movement. I mean, come on. Some people would disagree with this, but I reckon that Ben will go, maybe he's right. You never see a happy jogger, but when he's finished running, it's the most wonderful feeling in the world. And you talk about what keeps me going, what keeps me motivated. It's because I get so many people who write to me and say thank you. I work a lot with older people at the moment. I do a lot of cruises, and we have the biggest room on a Saga ship. And the class starts at 9:30 in the morning, and at 8:30, we've got people come queuing up, and we get people who are using a walker, using walking sticks or whatever. And when you have a situation where a lady comes in and she has to be helped to a chair, and you get talking to her and they say, "How are things?" And well, I was told by the physician that I'll never be able to walk properly again. I won't be able to dance again because she had cancer in her right thigh and they put titanium in there. And every day for 2 weeks, she's trying to get out of the chair. She couldn't. And then on the third week, she gets up off that chair and the tears stream down her face. And everyone in the room were crying. And there's 250 people in this room. People are crying. When that happens, if that doesn't touch something deep in here, I mean, there's something wrong with you. And so when you ask what motivates me, is when I feel the power, and I know the power of movement. And I've always been saying this: movement is medicine, and if we all take that medicine, there's loads of side effects of it, but the side effects are so good. The endorphin, the serotonin makes you feel good, relieves stress, right? Makes you able to play with your grandkids, make you able to climb stairs without getting out of breath. You could go on and on. Any condition you have slows it down. So all those things are what motivated me to keep going on. I'm 72 and I'm in the prime of my life.
You don't look 72. You really don't look
Not
72.
I'm fishing for a
at
compliment.
all.
That's why I said it.
Derek, thank you very much for joining us. I've got to get a question in because I know Rob's itching to get one in. I think the thing that I would like to say is obviously you've talked about how the movement is so good for people, and you talked about going onto cruise ships there and that
Yeah,
remarkable story. I think you are obviously still inspiring people because I know that you do your Instagram live
yeah,
workouts. I've watched a couple of those. Before the days of social media, you were doing your fitness routines on GMTV.
yeah,
There are now so many people that do what you were doing back in the 90s. Joe Wick's body coach. My daughter watches people on YouTube that are doing fitness videos, all that sort of stuff. I think we have to just stop for a second and say thank you because you're the person that has, in my opinion, I mean, there might have been people way before I was even born. You're the person that started that movement, right?
thank you. Well, listen, I mean, I remember when I started back in 1983, before television, and I'd gone to the local leisure centre. I was doing karate, and I remember hearing all this noise coming from down this corridor. So I wandered down the corridor and looked through the window, and I saw all these ladies doing what was then called, I found out, was called pop mobility. And what happened was a track of music would go on, they'd do a particular move to it, another track goes on, and so they did it. And it was like a light bulb moment for me. I was transfixed, 83. And for about 3 months, I kept going back to the same leisure centre in Harrow in London. And I just kept, I mean, I couldn't get away. And remember, I'd actually come from the area of being a single parent at age 20, looking after my daughter on my own. There's a period at which we were homeless outside the homeless family unit over in near Finsbury Park, near the Arsenal Stadium. And we used to queue up outside the homeless family unit, waiting to be given somewhere to stay. And I remember the first place, I mean, I remember going into a bed and breakfast, which was on 4 floors in this house. And there was like 5 or 6 families all sharing the same bathroom and kitchen. And terrible time, you know. And I remember getting my first council flat, and there were rats running around the room and all those things. But yes, still, I didn't give up hope, and I just kept working away with the realization that if you work hard, and I really believe this, you work hard, if you're considerate, if you're kind, amazing things happen in your life. And I've been the recipient of that. And when television was just by chance, I had been trying for 10 years to get in there, and they kept giving me every reason why it wouldn't work. But I wasn't put off. And I say to everybody listening now, don't ever listen to someone else telling you no. Don't listen to anybody else telling you can't, right? You listen to that inner spirit that you have. And that inner spirit, right? There's always on our shoulder this little animal that goes, you sure you want to train today? Come on, you train every day. Have the day off. Come on, you can do that.
Rob just takes it. He just
Yeah,
takes the day off.
I go on then. Okay.
So I talk to him every morning. And in fact, as the decades roll by, he comes up on both shoulders. And he says, listen, you're going to ache like crazy tomorrow. And I do. But then that means I've got to move more the next day. So you're right. I was at the forefront. In my day, it was circuit training, interval training. And I used to run these classes in the school hall in Mill Hill. We'd have 125, 150 people turning up classes where they've traveled 20 miles to come to my classes. It was wild, right? I mean, we were just crazy. And so they rename all these classes. You go, you hit, you do this, you do that. But what's the shame is that what they don't understand is that by renaming these classes, all you do is give the regular exerciser something new to try. It
Hmm.
doesn't engage the person who gets up from the couch over there to cross the road to go into a gym. It doesn't engage that person. It doesn't make them want to go and do anymore because all that person sees is that it's becoming more complicated. It's more choreographed. I can't do it. So when I came on television, I wanted to simplify the message. I want to make it so that people go, you know what, I tap my feet to this music. Yeah, it's got a bit of that to it. And before you know it, it's a bit like giving children vegetables. You don't say, there's your green veg. You dress it up in a pie. That's what I
Hmm.
do with my fitness, dress it up in a pie so people can realize, hey, come on, I'm moving my shoulders. I'm standing up. I'm dancing my
Are you
kids.
the first person that's just sold exercise as a pie? Because Rob's eyes lit up then.
Definitely.
But the thing is, right, the joy, I mean, listen, I speak from the heart when it comes to health and well-being, because I know I'm the recipient of a healthy lifestyle. And when I was under serious stress, right, and there was a period of my life when I lost my granddaughter, she was 12 years of age, the stress hit me like a rock. And all the while, I've been telling men along the way, and I do these kind of talks all the while. I say to them, listen, you must wear your heart on your sleeve. If you feel, you must cry, because crying makes you stronger. In fact, you're more of a man if you cry. If you're really stressed, do this, do that. And I didn't listen to that when I was under stress, because all I could see was I was being strong for everybody else. I was there supporting everybody else. When they were crying, I was stifling back my tears. And I got ill. I
Yeah.
got ill. 3 months after that, I remember I was in the lounge, and my youngest daughter, who was 27 at the time, came in, and my wife came in. I said to them, I need to sit down. And I sat them down and said to them, I think I know why I've been ill. I think I know why stress got to me. And I explained about not crying. And I bawled my eyes out. I said I felt I needed to cry. I bawled myself. I mean, it was just crazy. The tears were just flowing like crazy. But you know what happened after I did that? I felt like a cloud have lifted off me.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I could see the sunshine. You know how when some people leave you, right? It's a beautiful day.
Mm.
And I thought, wow. And I say to every male out there, if you're going through issues and problems and difficulties, right, bawl your eyes out. You become a man the moment you do that. You become a man and you feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that, to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
me
After
too.
a similar experience in the summer, we've documented well on this podcast my struggles with mental health back in the summer of this year. And actually, that time that I was encouraged to go to the GP by my wife and spoke to the GP and cried, got emotional in front of a GP, I actually felt better. And it was the turning point in my life to say, do you know what, I need to do this. Gave up alcohol, saw it as a new opportunity, and sort of got more focused with my exercise. And someone that I always considered myself as very motivated to exercise and be physically fit, but I still looked at that time and thought, you know what, I need to make a few changes to feel
Yes.
better. You talk about like your adversity in life and the very difficult times that you face. Do you think that that difficult time you draw upon that to make yourself more committed to your own health and fitness, not just because obviously your adversities were not fitness related, because we've all had that, like, I can't train because I've got an injury, or I can't train because I haven't got time. You're using that personal experience to say, do you know what, I'm doing this today because I've got no other choice, that type of thing.
I think what happens is that you don't consciously draw on the experiences of life. What happens is there, and that actually it guides your feet and your pathway, right? And so when I say to people that, for example, I've never had a bad relationship, they go, don't be stupid. Of course you have. You've fallen out with that person, you've dumped that wife, you've done all. Yeah, of course. But they weren't bad. They were part of the lessons that I had to learn in my life.
Yeah.
And and what they did was they either gave me the ammunition to make decisions later in life which benefited me. So I said to my wife, we've been together now for 34 years. I said to her, I had to go through the previous relationship to get to you. Because if you had caught me as the first wife, what would have happened, right? We probably would not have worked out, because the experiences of life is what makes me who I am. So, for example, the analogy I give to people often is at school, you're taught a lesson, and then you get a test. But what life does, it gives you a test, right, which teaches you lessons,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that is what prepares you for everything that you're going to have to deal with. And so I speak to parents. I do a lot of public speaking. I say to parents, listen, if your child's being bullied at school, don't move them to another school assuming they won't get bullied. You can't do that, because the point is, whatever is causing the bullying at this school is probably going to exist at the next school. What you have to do is understand that what you're doing at school is preparing you for life.
Mm.
And what it's doing, it's going to make them stronger. So they're going to battle through it. I was bullied at school. And then guess what? When I became 15, I beat the living daylights out of him.
That's going to be on the Sun tomorrow. Mr Motivator beats the living daylights out of somebody.
In fact, I drove him to religion. He's now a pastor, right?
Well, it worked out for him.
Yeah, he lived up to his name. He was called Hector, and Hector means to bully. His name was Marvin Hector, and Hector means to bully.
But if Marvin's listening now,
yeah. So in other words, what I'm saying with everything that goes on in our lives, we don't consciously draw on it, but because it's actually given us the ammunition, we then follow a course of action, a course of steps, with the knowledge of what we've just, what we've acquired.
Yeah, there's a very good book by Ryan Holiday, an American author, called Obstacle is the Way. And that's the exact principle that you're talking about. It's taking obstacles that come up and basically using them as an opportunity to become more resilient and become stronger. And
Absolutely.
that's something we need to do. We need to make sure that we're not shying away from obstacles. And this is what I try and tell Rob with his running training. You've got to do those hard sessions, because if you don't, you ain't going to get faster.
Absolutely right. But in any situation that you have, you don't have to look far to be able to turn it on its head to find something really good that's happening. I mean, I get on TikTok, I get trolls all the time coming on, and they always have something negative to say. And they don't understand. I'm the worst person to try and troll. Because number one, I'm going to give you loads of love. I know that you weren't cuddled as a child. I know that people didn't say good things to you. Sorry. So I'm giving them loads of love. And at the same time, I'm saying to them, listen, the mere fact you're still on here, you haven't scrolled on, is because there's something I'm saying and doing that's making you stick around. Otherwise, you're so anti me, you'd have gone on. I get the racists on there. When the racists come on, I warn them. I say to them, listen, when you have an accident and you're on the gurney, and when you're sitting on the gurney, they go, we've got to do a blood transfusion. You ain't going to be able to say, where did that blood come from? So the likelihood is my blood could run around your veins. And if it's not doing that now, it may run down it later on. But the other thing is, remember, the reason why I'm so good looking is because I don't have the bitterness that you have in your life. If you want to feel good, you got to start looking at positive things in your life. Say nice things to people. And if every day you say something nice, you know what? You're going to attract a new breed of people around you.
Yeah.
They shut up. They shut up.
So take us back to the 90s when all the colours that you used to wear.
I still I still do.
Well, you do. I know you still do on Instagram as well. Are you still wearing the same ones that you used to wear in the 90s?
There's a new one. My body shape is the same. It still fit me. Let me tell you this. If I had not gone on television with the marketing concept for Mr. Motivator, you and I would not be speaking today.
Well, exactly. That's what I was going to ask you. Is that something that you thought to yourself that there's something there that I need to make myself stand out almost, and that's the colours?
Listen, I'll always remember a job I got at Rank Hovis McDougall back in 1976. And they sent me away on Essentials of Management courses, where I learned about production, distribution, marketing, selling. In marketing, the one thing you learned is the importance of marketing yourself. And I'll always remember ringing in my ears Henry Ford saying that the man who doesn't advertise his business is a bit like the man who turns off the light trying to save money. So in other words, right, you have to promote yourself. Now, I looked at previous fitness people who've been on television. There were a few who had been on, right? The only one you really remembered from the 80s was the Green Goddess. Why did you remember her? Because she was dressed in green. So colors became important. But I also thought to myself, you know what? They used to make a load of fuss of Linford Christie wearing lycra and stuff like that. Let me get dressed up in lycra. The bum bag came along as a necessity because they used to put the mic down my back. And that meant if I was on the floor, it was always in the way. So I created this bum bag with little holes at the back of it so they could feed the wires in, and that held my mic at the front. The odd socks and stuff like that was just me trying to coordinate with the clothes I was wearing. That's all it is. It was a marketing. But also I knew I went to America quite a bit in the early 90s before television because they were at the forefront of fitness. And I remember going to the Karen Voigt Center in LA, and it was just brilliant. The atmosphere in there was great. And that kind of fueled me and recharged me. And then I went along to what was called International Dance and Exercise Association, big conference that happens all over the States every year. And there it fueled me. And when I came back, I felt armed to, number one, attitude, two, the music, three, the clothing, and number four, just tell everybody Mr. Motivator is wicked and he's here.
And you did that. He absolutely is wicked, and he is with us now as well. So I suppose one thing that I always think about is you've created that genre for yourself. How did it stick? How did it stick around for so long? Because I know you went back in Jamaica for a little bit, didn't you? Went back to Jamaica, but then you came back and reinvented yourself a little bit more during COVID. And I now know, because I've looked, and I nearly bought it myself for this interview, you've even got a Mr Motivator fancy dress. You can buy it on Amazon. So if anybody's thinking about buying it, you can buy it on Amazon.
It's far better you come to me and buy one of mine, because the ones on Amazon are one size, they look horrible, and it's nothing to do with me.
Derek, can I ask you how tall you are, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I'm 6'6".
Rob, I'd love to see Rob 6 in one of the costumes.
Well, you know what? I'm going to arrange to send you one. I'd love to see him in one myself, because I think a number of things would happen. Number one, I'd probably get a nightmare. No, but you know, it was so important, the whole thing with the unitard and stuff like that. Until this day, I mean, every appearance I have to make, that's what people want. Listen, I do music festivals every year.
Yeah.
And you get 15, 20,000 people in front of that main stage. They're baying for it. They want me to, you know, come out in my Lycra, and thank God it still fits properly. And I'm very blessed.
Did you ever think it would be that timeless, that costume?
No, I never ever, because don't forget, you know, what I'd seen at previous so-called fitness people is they kind of came and went. I mean, I remember when I started, there was like Caroline, she used to train the Princess of Wales, and she used to come to my classes. And there were people like Josh Saltzman. He used to train Michael Winner, and they all used to come to my classes. I all ran into all of them. But none of them are around any longer. Most of them, their hips have gone. They've had to have a hip replacement, a whole lot. I'm very blessed in that during the days before GMTV, I used to do personal training. And I was always very expensive, because I learned from some Jewish friends of mine, the more expensive you make something, the more demand there is for it. And the more you tell people you're not available, they'll wait until you are available. So I used to charge double what other people were charging. I was getting like £75 for 45 minutes of my time. And I'd only have about 6 clients. Whereas most of the fitness instructors from those days, they were doing 30 clients a week and all that kind of nonsense and running with them. You're crazy. I'd have a bike. They run. I ride the bike. Right? And that's why I'm still around with my own hips and my own knees.
So we've talked about it. You've motivated so many people, hence the name Mr. Motivator. You've inspired so many people. But who inspires you? Who has inspired you throughout your life?
You know, I love reading autobiographies. I love it. I mean, first of all, there's the lady, Maya Angelou, who's no longer with us. She's a great poet, right? And you know, if you ever get a chance, just read some of her poems, right? They're so uplifting, and you know, but then I also like reading success stories, because they can be inspirational. So whereas my wife will read any book in the world, and my daughter does, and there's tons of books all over the place, with me it's always autobiographies. Everything from, I want to find out how people made it. How difficult was it? I'll always remember Richard Branson. I read his book when it came out, because when I was working in Northwest London in Kensington, I'll always remember on the Kensington estate, there was a little telephone box outside. And I used to walk by, and when I'm walking by, there was a guy with white hair in his call box. I found out later on when I met Richard Branson that that's where he used to place his orders for his records, right? Wow. So, and the people who inspired me, most of them, I ended up working out with them. They'd come into GMTV, and when they came in, they'd want to be either sharing the dressing room with me, we'd be talking about life, and they'd be saying, you've inspired me. You know, everybody from, even till this day, I run into people like Craig David. They all cuddle me and say, listen, you inspired me. I grew up with you. You know, Luther Vandross, he used to always, every time he came to town, Danny Glover, all these guys, you know, name it, you know, Cindy Crawford, name it. All these guys who I read their life story, there was actually rubbing shoulders with them. And I think I'm blessed. I'm so blessed, because it doesn't take much for anybody listening now to say a kindly word to someone. And they'll come back to you. You know, they say kindness is one thing you can't give away, because the more you try and give it away, the more it's going to come back to you. And I'm telling you, as a recipient of so much kindness, is because I've always believed in sharing. Like, for example, look, I give away all my classes for free on TikTok and Instagram. I have a club that you join. It's free to join. There's no membership to pay. It's because I want as many people as possible moving their body. And that's why I admire what you guys are doing, because running suits some people.
Yeah.
Doesn't suit a lot of people, right? And so with the more people in this space, the better it is. Joe Wicks is in this space. He has a different approach, right? I don't believe in the intensity of exercise. I believe that exercise should leave you feeling elated, feeling good with a smile on your face without you the next day having to have a cold shower. That's what I believe, but, there's a place for everybody out there. And the more people in this space promoting movement, the better it is, because the NHS is overrun with obesity, diabetes issues, when a lot of those issues could be solved by people taking up couch to 5K, by people moving their body, exercising, or going for a swim.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I think there's two. I'm doing a lot of research at the moment for my own health in regards to brain chemicals.
Yes.
And you've touched on two things: being kind to people, making connections, which is good for serotonin, and then exercising for your endorphins. So you've got obviously you talk about pillars. I think we talked about that before we started. You've got two pillars: your serotonin and your endorphins. Can we talk about nutrition? What's your take on eating healthy? Because you give the exercise advice, you give the well-being. What's your idea in regards to nutrition? Because I'm very much keep it as simple as possible, because there's a lot of fads around with that now.
Yeah, there is. And I've spoken out against the diet industry because I hate it. I believe that they're doing a disservice to people, number one.
Yeah.
I believe if we promote to people sensible eating, it makes sense. So, for example, it's a bit like saying sensible drinking. You know how many drinks is going to push you over the edge.
Yeah.
You equally know when you're full. It's just that the food is tasty. We go, let me have another spoon. If we all, right, I'm saying, whatever you love eating, if you eat it and you eat it in moderation, you're going to be fine. Now, I must have been doing something right in my life, because here I'm at 72 and I feel really good. Now, what did I give up? 25 years ago, I gave up eating meat. And so I eat loads of fish and vegetables. And like tonight, what I've cooked is some fish, some vegetables, and some rice and stuff like that. But it was so, oh my goodness, I wanted to go back for another plateful. What did I do? I didn't bother. What I do quite a lot, when I'm on ship, if you don't want to get a cruise ship belly because of all the food that's available, you have to definitely have a sensible eating plan. When I'm on ship, what do? I fast between 7:30 the evening before and 1:30 in the afternoon. So 1:30 in the afternoon, and lunch on the ship is always great. There's loads of variety. So you can have loads of salad if you want. You can have a bit of this if you want. Evening meals is always a bit more sit down, dressed up, right? Not much to it. So I'll have an omelette. But I fast for literally about 18 hours. And what do I drink? Water. Well, how do I do my water? Because I hate water on its own. So I have a flask. This flask has half hot water, half cold, and I squeeze lemon in it. And I'll go through probably about 5 or 6 of these a day. And if you do that, I'm telling you, number one, you go to pee and it's clear like crazy. It's great for your complexion, right? I mean, honestly.
Well, 72 and looking like you do, we must do something well for you.
Right. And so I think everybody has to find what's right for them, right? What do they say? One man's meat is another man's poison. And I think that we need to find what works for us. And that works for me. And I'll go on the weekend, I'll go, you know what? I'm going to have a breakfast now on this weekend. But if you eat when you're hungry, as opposed to just eating because habit says that you must have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you'll find that your body responds much better.
And this all comes round to marketing by commercial companies to say, buy this drink, buy this bread, this protein bread that they've just put the word protein on, but it's the same loaf of bread. This is the industry that we're in now. You can sort of market things cleverly to get people to buy into it, right?
Yeah, they do. And I think we have got, listen, we know what's right for our body. You don't need anybody to tell you, come on. You can look at a packet of what it is. Listen, I have chocolates once a month. So like it's now in February, I'm now anticipating when I'm going to have my chocolate. And my chocolate.
What's your chocolate bar of choice, Derek?
No, it's not even a bar. It's M&M. I love M&Ms, and I get a great big bag of plain crisps, right?
Together?
together. Oh,
Yes.
it is
Yes.
so tasty.
Yes. Yeah, I've done crisps, red salted crisps and chocolate. Fantastic.
Oh,
Sweet and salt together. Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm telling you, it is wonderful, and I look
If it's
forward
good
to
enough for Mr Motivator, it's got to be good enough for me as well.
it. There you go. I tell you, it won't make your hair grow, but I tell you what, it makes no. But honestly, I can't wait now. I'm trying to decide when am I going to have it this month, and that's what happened. I got this anticipation that's building up, and that's what I do. So it's a treat with me when it comes to things like that, and you won't see me breaking it for the month because when you do it like that, when you have that chocolate, it tastes so good.
Yeah. It's that moderation, isn't it? If you have something all the time, then actually you become kind of like autopilot and you don't actually appreciate it. And I think, doing something once a month, you're getting that real sense of reward. You're
Oh man,
working, you're waiting, you're working hard to get it.
and
The
it
high
tastes
is
so
going to be
good when you
great.
have it. Oh man! But I tell you
Yeah.
what, I'm finding. I gave up sugars probably about 30 years ago. So I'm finding now that the M&Ms can be a bit too sweet for me. So whereas before I could eat a whole packet, I can probably only eat half a packet. I can't eat M&Ms from the States. From the States, it's definitely sweeter than here.
Yeah. Wow. And are we talking small bag or big share a bag?
Oh no! It's in, and I put mine in the freezer, in the fridge, by the way, because I like it cold,
So it's hard as well.
hard and crunchy. Yeah.
I must admit, I never thought they'd be talking about chocolate and crisps when I was talking to Mr Motivator, but I'm loving it. I'm
I
loving it.
want to go back to you on the cruise ship for the formal dinner. How do you dress up wearing a leotard?
And then he gets on stage and he pulls it off.
I'm a traditionalist when it comes to cruising, and I
Yeah.
love dressing up in the evenings. Right, I just
Yeah.
think it just is a different world altogether. And so I've got my suits, and I've even got a kilt. I got the whole lot, the spar and the knot. I've got it. So occasionally I wear that. Right.
I just love the energy. You say
Yeah.
72,
Yeah, 73 this year.
and we're looking at you for those that aren't seeing this. You've got a t-shirt. I'm fabulous on it, bright red. I just love the energy. I think that's obviously clear that that's the way you live your life, right? And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
high energy lifestyle.
yeah. It is because I tell you why. For every 1 minute you're sad, you're missing out on 60 seconds of happiness. I love I love being up there all the while. It makes me feel so good. And I don't ever experience road rage. And I've seen people have road rage against me. And I've got out the car and I've walked up to them and go, if you get yourself so wound up and you have a heart attack, I'm the one that's going to have to kiss you now. mean, they end up laughing their socks off, right? And don't forget, anger anger is one letter short of danger. And so what we've all got to do is always look for the good. It's there, right? And if you don't have to look hard for reason to smile. When you smile, that's one facelift that we can all do that costs no money, right?
I always say in my work, as a psychiatrist, positivity breeds positivity. Because if I'm positive, the likelihood is that's going to breed onto you, and you're going to be then positive. That's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
But you know something? There are people out there who are real depressives.
Mood hoovers.
Oh man, there are people, I call them extractor fans. What they do is they extract the energy out of you, right? You want people around you who are generators. I had a friend of mine who I hadn't seen for a number of years, and I knew he was going through difficult times. And I suggested when I saw him, come and spend a weekend with me. Biggest mistake in the world. Because he came in here and he put mess on the carpet. I'm talking about his energy. He put mess on the carpet. And when he left, we could feel that negative energy. And that's why I say to people, listen, if someone or something does not add value to your life, move on. Move on. Because you can't solve the problems of the world. You can direct people into a direction that might help them. But don't you try and be the savior of people. And if you feel that you need to spend time with your friend because they're going through a difficult time, meet them down the road at the pub. Don't bring them into your home because they'll leave and you'll be going to your loved one. Are we okay? Is everything all right? All of a sudden, that negativity creeps into your relationship. And that was the worst mistake I ever made. And so now I don't even see him now. But you know what? That's life.
We're a running podcast. I've got to ask the question: do you like running, or would you prefer a good old-fashioned aerobic session?
I used to run. I'm the kind of person that see a hill, I've got to get over the hill real quickly. The problem with running is that you never see a happy jogger. You heard me say that. You don't. At the end of it, right, you go, that was great. You have the most fabulous shower, but you're never happy. Now, my wife loves running, and she's at the moment working on the cruise because I left in Barbados to come up here and work, and I'm rejoining it in New Orleans. Every day she'll be running at least 5 miles and then going to the gym. She smiles at everybody whilst running because when she's running without her glasses, she can't tell whether they're smiling at her. So, but apart from that, no. I've done plenty runners warm up. I've done London Marathon, done the warm up. I've done the what you call it, the Great North Run.
Yeah.
I've done the warm up there for 50,000 people. I'm not running. Forget it, Ben.
I'm not going to ask. I don't think I could match your energy with anyway, so I'm not going to bother.
Okay.
So coming towards the end of the interview, I just want to say thank you very much for coming on, Mr. Motivator or Derek. I was going to ask you that question at the start. Is it Mr. Motivator? What do you prefer to be called? Mr. Motivator, Mr. M, Derek?
People call me what they like. I mean, nobody knows who Derek is. If you call me Derek, I'll think to myself, you must be a family member. But most people go Moat, Mr. M, Motivator, Oi, you, all like that. I don't really mind. I know who I am. And on that, what you call me it's not really relevant, to be honest. I know who I am.
And you got an MBE in 2020.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
But I didn't get it until 2022.
Because of COVID.
It was COVID. And also, and after COVID, the Queen was meant to, and then she died. So therefore, it was William who presented it to me. And it's so funny, isn't it? There's protocol around these things. They when you arrive, they tell you, well, you go down the hall, you take 5 steps to the right and 5 to the left, and you see the red carpet, and you don't go on the red carpet. You wait there, and William will come out, and you bow to him and stuff. I forgot all that nonsense. I arrived there at the red carpet, and he came. I think I met him on it, and he put his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, "I've been wanting to meet you for years," he said. Grew up with you. I said, Willie, look, I mean, it's so good to see you, Willie, right? I said, I tell you what, I've got a unitard that would fit you. He said, no way on earth I'm wearing that, he says. He says, you look good in it. I'm not doing it.
Brilliant. Absolutely amazing. And I mentioned, I know we're talking about the royalty, and I mentioned at the start of the podcast, Mr. Blobby. Have you ever met Mr. Blobby?
A number of times he used to come to GMTV, and I got asked him all the time.
And what's he like?
No, he's not real, don't you?
You can't say that. There might be kids listening. Yeah. So who's actually inside Mr. Blobby?
I haven't got a clue who it is, but
Noel Edmonds. Please tell me.
He doesn't even speak.
Don't he?
He's just a troublemaker. He just knocks people over and stuff like that. I really, to be honest, wish I had a pin because I was going to stick a pin in him.
Well, I think there's a rivalry here.
Yeah, there's a nerve touch there.
Deep-seated rivalry.
One last thing before we go, Mr. Motivator. Please, can you give us one of your motivational speeches that you would give to the nation to get them off the couch and doing some exercise and doing some movement?
Okay. Every one of us are blessed with a body, a life. We're all blessed with it. And every single day that you get up, you should show yourself how much you love yourself. If you love yourself, you should be looking after yourself. There's no saying that many a man has sacrificed his health in pursuit of wealth and then spent his wealth trying to regain his health, and all he found was a grave. You have a choice about your independence. And as you get older, the one thing you should be trying to maintain is your independence. And the only way you're going to do that is by physically, mentally moving your body. And if you don't do it, shame on you. Shame on you. Because as your kids grow up, you want to be around to play with them. I know that exercise works. Whatever condition you have slows down the rate, it's going to deteriorate and come to the fore. You slow it all down. But you've got to move your body. And don't do it alone. Do it with your family, your friends, and enjoy it. Because the joy of movement is incredible. You release those happy hormones, the serotonin, the endorphins, and dopamine, the mood buster. And trust me, this is the one meal that you must eat because it's good for you. And it's one medicine you should have because it's all positive side effects. And if you do it, you're going to look and feel as good as I do.
I feel like going out and doing an aerobic session now, I must admit. Just before we go, you've mentioned before we come on the podcast that you've got your own podcast. Talk to us a bit about that. Tell us what it is, where we can find it, what it's called. what it's about?
Right. Yes, I have been doing my own podcast. You won't see it as yet. What it is, it came about because a good friend of mine who works at Central Television said, look, if television doesn't give you the kind of show you're looking for, why not do your own? So happens I got contacted by Nottingham College, who have a state-of-the-art TV studio. They said, look, you can have a studio as long as you can get the students to help you with the production. So we've been putting together our podcast, but it's actually a bit like a magazine show in that we have a core subject that we're discussing. Let's say, for example, is prostate, but I'll go out on the road, do Vox Pop. We've got a mad professor in there, and this professor, we use this professor, think Back to the Future, crazy hair, she's blonde and has a clipboard, and any kind of statistical information we have to give out, she gives that out in a fun way, makes it easy to digest. And then we have a studio with 2 or 3 motivators in there. We go out live on TikTok and Instagram. It's all there. And we're going to be releasing this in the next 2 months. At the moment, we're just putting all the whole thing together, and then it's going to go out. That's one part of it. And the second part of our podcast is Mr. Motivator. It's called On Your Bike. And On Your Bike is basically, I go and interview celebrities about their well-being. We go for a ride on a bike, right? And then we sit down on the park bench and we talk about your well-being, your life and stuff like that. And that will form part of my little show, but also it'll go out on its own.
Absolutely amazing. I don't know what to ask now. I'm still flabbergasted that we're actually speaking to you, and that you want to pop Mr. Blobby with a pin.
Wish you all the very best in what you're doing. Right?
Thank you.
Because conversation is something we must encourage amongst everybody, in particular people who mentally are going through difficult times, because the more they talk, the more they speak, the better they'll feel. And that is something we must encourage, in particular with men. And any men out there listening, if you're older than 45, I'd say, go and get your prostate checked. It's a major killer in men, 4 times more likely in black men that they'll get prostate cancer. And men, just please, generally, just go and get yourself checked.
Yeah. And we've got to meet up anyway because I need to have that unitard off you. I'm not sure it'll fit me, but
I think it will.
Okay. Well, we can try. I can try it on. I'm not sure I'll be able to put it on Instagram or TikTok, and I'm not going to be bouncing around as much as you would do with your sessions. But
no. Yeah. Well, listen. Let's have a laugh anyhow.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Ben's covering his eyes. I mean,
he's just imagine.
No, it's because every time we have a guest on this show, we always end up both signing up to do something. And I know what's happening. He's going to try and get me in one as well.
All right, we'll arrange it because you're in Stoke-on-Trent and one's in Birmingham.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. We'll make sure we make it happen.
Fantastic.
I'm in Manchester, so that's a route I go through all the time.
Awesome. We'll stay in contact.
Yeah,
awesome
for sure.
Stuff.
Awesome.
The last thing I think people have to take away, what was it you said? Every minute you're sad, it's 60 seconds.
For every
you're
1
missing out
minute
being happy.
you're sad, you're missing out on 60 seconds of happiness.
Boom.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
All the very best, yeah.